A few weeks ago, I tried to build a pinch block. I started with a piece of oak and I ended up with something that actually resembled my initial drawings. And the design is based on the pinch block made by Lattice, which it turns out would have been a lot easier to buy than to try and make myself. But I guess I wanted to make my own, to kind of put my own creative stamp on it and have a one-of-a-kind tool to train with. Okay. This is roughly what I want to end up with, and there's a few like key dimensions of it that I know I want to hit. So I know that the width of the pinch block, kind of the grip bit that you're squeezing from left to right, I want this to be 95 millimeters. I know that this edge down here, I want to be roughly 20 millimeters. We're going to be making the block basically in two halves. And we're just going to make one half twice and then stick it together in the middle. Now for each half is also divided up into two pieces. So to save working all of this kind of outline out of one solid piece of wood, we're going to work it out of two pieces of wood, and the dividing line is going to be like that. So that means basically we've got this shape at the top that we need to cut out of a piece of wood, and we've got this shape at the bottom that we need to cut out of a piece of wood. Imagine in your mind's eye, this is basically going to be the top half of the pinch block. This is going to be the bottom bit that we cut the little kind of crimp rail out of. And I've got a few more, kind of got a bit more in depth in what some of my measurements need to be on my pinch block, but I'm basically now just going to draw the outline on here that will show me the bits that I need to cut off to kind of end up with the shape that I want to have for the top half and the shape that I want to have from the bottom half. First thing I know is that the angle that I've cut off the top block at there, I need to replicate that angle onto the top of this bottom block, because they are going to need to fit together nicely. So 20 mil down from there, I've just put in where my crimp edge is going to be, so I'll be able to grab it like that. And this is all being cut away, all of this through here as well. You can see we're roughly left with this kind of a D shape, a lowercase d shape here at the moment. Now that both ends are marked up, we can start to cut out all the bits that we don't need. Right, is the top bit of the block done. Cut out along there and there to take the little square bit out here, and obviously made a diagonal cut along there that's going to fix to the bottom bit. Try and work it out. We used a table saw to cut all of the different shapes out of our piece of wood, and it's probably not something that I'd recommend. And one cut at a time, we kind of trimmed the wood down until it matched the shape that I'd marked out on the end of the grain. Edge there. Then we've got one more cut to do up here. Yeah. For the time we'd finished, we were left with the top and the bottom parts of the pinch block in their kind of rough shape, That's probably the trickiest part done, but actually the bulk of the work was still to come in kind of finishing these off and attaching it all together. First, we used a router to create nice round edges on the top of the pinch block, and then we kind of just cleaned up any rough marks that had been left from using the table saw, because it's quite a coarse blade. And after that we sanded everything down basically, so that it was nice to hold on to, and there weren't any splinters. So the wood was pretty much ready now, but we had to cut these long planks down to size. So what will we get? 4 lengths?
Yeah.
Of 4 lengths of 5 inches?
Well no, it's 640 divided by 4, so we get 200 and roughly 6 inches. We're roughly going to get about 150 millimetres.
Beginner's mistake.
Have another go at that one. Eventually we were left with 4 top pieces and 4 bottom pieces, which was enough to make 2 pinch blocks. We just needed to back them onto a piece of plywood that would hold the whole thing together. Okay, after putting a couple of holes in there and just smoothing off the edges, we've now got our kind of middle piece, which we're going to put our four separate parts on. So what we've got all together now, in amongst the offcuts, a couple of top bits. That's going to be the pinch, and a couple of these crimp rails, which are going to sit on the bottom. And this piece is going to be where you put a little bit of rope through to attach the weight, either from either end basically, depending on if you're pinching or what you're doing with it. They're all going to fit together like that. We're attaching everything with wood glue and screws, but we're also drilling some bigger holes where the screws are going in, because we're going to use these little wooden plugs to fill up the gaps, and it will just make it look a little bit nicer at the end. And then line it up with the top tape. That should be it pretty much. The last step was to cover up the screws with the little wooden plugs. We've got to put them in there, I think, and then just use like a little saw to cut off the excess, and then it fills it up basically, doesn't it? It's quite a fun job to do because it just adds the last finishing touch, I guess. It's going to spill out though, isn't it? But yeah. Okay, you clean up. I'm pretty psyched with how these turned out in the end, and I thought I'd run a little giveaway for the community where I'll post out one of them to one of you. You need to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment underneath this video saying one of your training goals for the next year. I'll put the names in a hat and pick a winner out in a few weeks' time. I'd say that anyone can enter, but I can only post to the UK. So you'll need to have a UK address or a friend in the UK who I can post it to. As always, thanks for watching, and I'm hoping to have a few outdoor videos coming up soon.